What's going on, guys? Welcome to this training. What we're going to talk about today is optimizing your routine because your routine is absolutely everything. I live and die by my routine. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a fitness coach, if you're on a fitness journey, whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish, you need a routine, and your success is going to be determined by your routine. The reason why that is because success is not something that you just go all in on and brunt force and, master in 3 months. It's something that takes a very long time. If you want to get in really great shape, it's going to take a lot longer than 3 months. And so you need a fitness routine that you can follow over the course of 5 years to build the best physique possible. If you want to master business, it's going to take longer than 3 months. And so you need a business routine that you could follow to build a business over the course of 5 months. Now, this doesn't mean finding time where you can squeeze it in and get maybe 1 to 2 hours of work here and there. It needs to be a consistent daily action, which is why building a routine is the key to success. I post this all the time. Show me your routine and I will show you your results. And for me, my routine is gospel. If I'm not following my routine, I am anxious. I know I'm not making as much progress as I could be. And I have a lot of sense of control in my routine. Before when I was younger and I didn't have such a sense of control, I was always anxious, always stressed out, always worried about my future. But now that I have a really solid routine, I feel like I am the master of my destiny. I feel like I am control. And every single day, I know that no matter what happens, if I make a sale, if I have a bad workout, it doesn't matter because tomorrow is another day to make forward progress. And over the course of 12 months, I'm able to make massive, massive growth gains in my business, in my life, and my relationships. So something that we do with our students inside PTBI is we optimize their routine for every single level of business that they're at, because no matter what level of business that you're at, your routine is going to change. And that's something that I also want to explain as well, is that your routine is a snapshot of your life. It can be fluid and it can change, meaning that for the next 6 months, you might follow a very consistent routine, but the 6 months after that, you might need to change your routine depending on what level you're facing in business, depending on life changes that have happened. So every 6 months or so, you should do an audit of your life and create a routine that you can follow consistently. So really quick, guys, if you're a personal trainer and you're looking to start an online fitness coaching business and you're tired of trying to figure out how to do it on your own, I highly encourage you to check out our program, the Personal Trainers Business Incubator. We work with fitness coaches and we help them start the business from $0 to $10,000 per month and more. So if you're looking to get started, all you got to do is click the link down below in the description and it will take you to our website, which will tell you all about what we do. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this training. All right. So optimizing your routine. So what we're going to do is talk about, how to optimize your routine. And then I'm going to show you a couple of examples of routines that I have had over the last few years that have allowed me to build my business to $200,000 per month and have a 7-figure net worth, all at the age of 27, which is pretty impressive. And what you're going to see here, guys, is that there's nothing crazy that I do. I used to always think of these super high level entrepreneurs and want to know what's their routine? What are they doing every single day? What's the secret hack of what they're doing that I'm not doing? And I realized that they're not doing anything different. They're just doing the basics. And when I show you my routine here, you're going to realize, oh man, this is really simple, but it's allowed him to get all of this success. And it's all because I just stick to the routine. I stick to the basics. So optimizing your routine. First step first, you need a daily routine. If you do not have a daily routine, you are losing so much opportunity on your own personal growth. So if you find yourself always trying to find time for your business or find time for your fitness or find time for your relationships, you're going to be playing a catch-up game your entire life. What you have to do is you have to create the time and make the time where you can, for the most part, in order for you to make progress on the areas of life that actually matter. And something that we're going to talk about as well is getting down to your priorities, really understanding what's important, what's not important, so that way we can make a daily routine that's centered around areas of growth that will allow you to get so much further ahead in life and your peers and your family and further than you ever even thought possible. So you need a daily routine. If you do not have one, this is step one. If you do have one, let's optimize it together. The first step here is you need to map out your non-negotiables. Your non-negotiables are going to be things like work. A lot of people who are starting their business have to have a paying job in order for them to pay their bills. Or maybe you're in school, maybe you have a family. These are things that you cannot take off your plate. Sure, maybe you can quit your job and go all in. Maybe you can leave your family. Maybe, you could drop out of school. I wouldn't recommend it though. That's not what I did. Actually, I'll explain how I did that later. But in the beginning, that's not what I did. I waited until my business was at a certain level before I dropped out of school and before I quit my job. But play it safe, okay? This is not life advice. I'm not telling you to do these things, but you need to understand what your non-negotiables are. So if you have a family, if you have a relationship, if you have school, if you have work, if you have responsibilities that you cannot shy away from, those are your non-negotiables. Those are going to be locked into your calendar. So those are like concrete. We're going to put them in your schedule where they are, where you can, and we're going to work around that in the beginning. Eventually, when you're full-time in your business and you're making enough income to live the life that you want, you can structure your day however you want, right? And you'll be able to actually see how I made that transition with my routines from the past. But for now, if you have non-negotiables, write down what the non-negotiables are and then list them out as to what time they fit into your schedule. Well, I'll take you through the exercise here in just a second. The next thing is you need to identify your priorities. Do not have too many priorities at once, okay? This is a really important thing that I've mastered that's allowed me to grow to a certain level of success is that I do not have too many things on my plate at one time. At a single moment, I'm working on maybe 2 to 3 different projects max, if that 2. One is usually my physical fitness. The other one is a project for business, but I don't have 3 projects for business. I have 1. And when that project gets done, then it gets replaced with the next one. So it's never that I'm working on, 10 different things at a single time because my time is extremely limited and extremely valuable. I want to make progress on the thing that's actually going to matter and actually going to change my life. And so I only choose 1 or 2 max. The other third for me might be like reading, but there's times in my life where my schedule, my routine doesn't have that much time for reading. There are times in my life where, maybe I'm not working on a crazy project or maybe I got my work done for the day. Then I do have reading and it is a priority. So I'll have seasons of life where like for 6 months, I'll be reading like crazy. Then for 6 months, I won't pick up a single book. That's totally fine. But you need to identify what are the areas of your life that you want to progress in right now. Is it your fitness? Is it your business? Is it your relationships? And guys, some things are going to have to take a back seat here. You might not have as much time to go out and party with your friends. You might not have as much time to go out and grab coffee with an old friend. You might not have as much time to read that might be something that you love to do. You might not have as much time to play sports or, do the hobbies that you used to, right? For myself personally, I love music. I love playing the bass. I love going to concerts. I used to play in a band. I used to love mountain biking. I was on the mountain biking racing team. I used to love surfing, snowboarding, skateboarding. I don't do any of that stuff now because it's not my number one priority. My number one priority is making money, taking care of my fitness and my health, working on my mobility, and building a family home with my fiance, Megan. I don't have time for anything else. And if I don't have consistent time to work on those things, I'm not going to make progress anywhere. If I try to have time for skateboarding and music and traveling and reading and business, I'm going to be so split focused that I'm not going to make progress anywhere. And so I decide, hey, those things are no longer serving me in my life. I'm just going to focus on 2 to 3 things max. The next thing is you want to work your priorities around your non-negotiables. So if you have work, your hours are locked in. And so you need to work your priorities around that. You can't replace it, right? So let's say if you work at 9 to 5. Well, from the hours of 9 to 5, you're going to be at work. And so where are you going to fit in your priorities? Before and after, and even on the weekends as well. So once the non-negotiables are locked in place, we take the 2 to 3 priorities and work it around the non-negotiables. Next, you're going to cut out distractions. This is a big one. This is a hard pill to swallow, but I'm going to give you the reality here. Sometimes the things you love to do are distractions. If you love to go out and party, if you love, for example, like I said, music, if you love playing sports, if you love playing golf, those are distractions that are keeping you from your bigger goals, right? And so at this point, you need to ask yourself, what's more important here? Is playing a game of pickup basketball more important than working on my business? If that's the case, then, go out and live that life. But it's likely not the case. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. I'm going to talk shit for a second. I see people who tell me all the time, I want to be successful. I want to be like you. I want to have a big business. And then on a Wednesday night at 5 p.m., they're playing pickup basketball. I would never, never waste my time doing something that's not going to serve me, because guess what? As soon as that game of basketball is done, what do you have left with your time? You're going to be in the exact same spot as you were 3 hours before. It's a waste of time. Now, if you love doing that and that's how you enjoy your life, I am not judging you. For myself, that would be a massive distraction. And so sometimes the things that you love doing need to be cut out. This isn't just like TikTok, TV, video games. We'll actually make time for that. I'll show you this in just a second. But like those things where you think you're being productive, or you think you're having fun or whatever, what have you, like the game, playing fantasy football and watching every single football game, it's a distraction, okay? Cut that stuff out, because you only have a limited amount of time a day. And you're going to see in my routine how dialed in I am every single hour of the day. And there's no time for that kind of stuff. I don't have time to waste on distractions that aren't going to serve me on my goal. Next thing is you want to set aside time for zombie mode. Zombie mode is the time where you can just turn your brain off, you can recharge. I heard something from Alex Hormozy one time, and he was saying, if you take a work day and you are able to force yourself to work for 8 hours straight, but at the 4-hour mark, your work starts to diminish. And the last back half of the 4 hours, you actually are just getting unproductive work done. Like you're distracted. You're just, you're not as fueled, versus if you work 4 hours a day and take a 2-hour break to just turn your brain off and then come back and work an extra 2 hours. That's 6 hours a day, but those 6 hours will be much more productive than if you were to try to force banging out 8 hours a day. So personally, I set aside time for zombie mode, 30 to an hour at the end of the day, where I just watch TikTok. Is it productive? No. But if it allows me to recharge and kind of regather my bearings and have a productive workday the next day, then it actually could be a net positive. This is where, your hobbies and whatnot can come into play. You want to set aside 30, 60 minutes a day. So don't feel guilty if you're like playing video games at the end of the day, as long as your workday is done, and it can be productive to have zombie mode. Last thing, super simple, stick to the routine. This is the hardest part. Anyone can sit down and make a routine, but it's really hard for people to actually stick and execute the routine. And I think that's something that I've done really well. I'm about to show you the routines just now. You're going to realize how simple they actually are. But the difference between me and the difference between the guy who's not making progress is I actually stick to the routine every single day. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys will see every single night without fail, unless it's a rest day. If I have a rest day the next day, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. just because I can sleep in an extra hour. But without fail, I will always make my coffee and put it in the fridge at 8 p.m. at night. For me, that is a signal to my audience to show I'm sticking to my routine. Do I need to post myself putting coffee in the fridge every single night? No. Do people actually really care? No. But for me, it's a message that I'm successful because I stick to my routine without fail. Now, without further ado, let's go and check out the daily routine map I wrote over here. So this is actually 4 daily routines that I've had over the course of my life, starting at around, say, 15 years old when I was in high school. This was a pretty consistent routine during my years of high school, obviously. So I would wake up at 7 a.m. From 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., I was in school. From 3 to 4:30 after school, every single day, I would train, right? That's my routine. And then from 5 to 8 p.m., I would read. I was reading things like Think and Grow Rich. I was reading things by Gary Vaynerchuk. I was reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was reading books like, The Alchemist, Richest Man in Babylon. This is essentially when I had my literature awakening. Now, you might be saying, Zakk, if you're training from 3 to 4:30 and you're reading books from, 5 to 8 p.m., where did you have time for homework? That's the thing. I didn't have time for homework. I didn't make time for homework. It wasn't a priority for me. It wasn't important to me. It was a waste of time. It was a distraction, which is also why I didn't get into a 4-year school. I went to a community college right out of high school, and I knew that I didn't need to have great grades, and so I just didn't prioritize school. But these hours of me reading for 2 years changed my life, right? By the time I was 18 out of high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly how I was going to get there. And so that's what I mean. Sometimes the things that you think are important aren't actually important. Next step, college. So now I'm 18. This lasted for about 4 years because I took classes in community college for 4 years. But there's something interesting that I went about with my routine here. I knew that I wanted to work out at 11 o'clock. That was my non-negotiable. I really wanted to pursue fitness. I wanted to pursue personal training. And so my number one important priority was to build my body during that time and start to build my platform. So I knew that I wanted to train at 11 o'clock. That was my non-negotiable. And so I only chose classes that got out before 11. I didn't take any classes later than 11 at all. And if there was a class that I needed for my credits that wasn't available, I didn't take it. That's how crazy I was when it came to my fitness and building my body. And it's also why it took me 4 years to get a 2-year degree, because I just took it super slow because I prioritized the gym and building my audience over school. 12 to 3 p.m., I would read in podcasts. So this is when I would do my personal development. And then from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., I would work. Now, I had a few different jobs during the course of these 4 years. I worked at a yogurt shop for a couple months. I got fired from that job. I started my own in-person training studio out of my mom's garage. I did that for about 2 years. And then I was a busser for about 2 years at BJ's Brewhouse in San Diego. Again, you might say, Zakk, you're in school. You've made no time for yourself to do homework. Exactly. That's why I dropped out. I tried to get into a 4-year school for 4 years, and I never got accepted. My grades weren't high enough. I got put on academic dismissal at my first community college, which is why I went to 2, because the first one didn't let me re-enroll. I don't know what my grade point average was, but I failed a few classes pretty damn quickly, and they were like, yeah, we don't want you. But again, school was not a priority for me. What was a priority for me was building my body and investing into myself. During this time, I wasn't even focused on building a business. I was just focused on learning everything that I could about business, marketing, sales, investing, personal training, fitness. Like, I was just a savage when it came to learning. And so all of my time was dedicated to these 3 things, or these 2 things every single day. Those were my 2 priorities. My non-negotiables were school and work. I arranged my schedule to make sure that I can fit in my priorities, but these were the only 2 things I was focused on for like 6 years, from the ages of, say, around 16, 17 to about 22. That's all I did, was work out and read. Now, once I actually started my business and I was making 5 to 10K a month, my schedule turned into this, and it was this way for quite some time. Only recently my routine changed to this. There's a few reasons why I changed it to hit this, but this was my routine for about, I'd say, 4 years. And it's honestly a really solid routine. At 7 a.m., I'd wake up. From 8 to 9 a.m., I would work on content. I would work on lead gen. And so this would be, me showing up on my stories, adding value. I would work on my course, maybe lesson or 2. And I'd also do some lead generation with DM outreach. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I was training. So in the gym with my gym partner, creating content, filming content, and editing content, and then posting it. From 11 to 2 p.m., pretty consistently, I would read, I would podcast, and I'd also do lead gen. And then from 2 to 6 p.m., I'd have sales calls. And then 6 to 8 p.m., I'd do whatever I needed to do to build the business, whether it be course videos, whether it be, workout programs, whether it be new resources, whatever it was, that time was dedicated towards building my actual business. Next thing is going to be, again, like I mentioned, this routine served me for a very long time. And I switched it, but to be honest, I'd probably still be using that routine if it wasn't for the reasons why I switched it, which I'll explain in just a second. But my priorities during this time was building my audience with content and growing my business. That was it. That was my only 2 priorities. I didn't do any snowboarding. I didn't do any skating. I didn't do any surfing. I didn't do any video games. It was just those 2 priorities. But just focusing on those 2 things over the course of 4 years is what allowed me to build a successful online coaching business. I cut out a lot of stuff. And then this is my current routine. This has been my routine for like the last 3-4 months. And the only reason why I changed it to 4 a.m. was because I'm 27 now, and I've been training for about 10 years. And I'm really starting to feel the negative effects of heavy compound lifting on my body. My mobility hasn't been great. I was getting a lot of shoulder pain in my movements, and it was actually taking a lot of the fun out of training. And so I realized that I needed to make a change in my fitness. I hired a mobility coach, and I was like, look, man, I don't have time to do more workouts. I'm already training an hour and a half in the gym. I have a full packed schedule. I don't have time to do mobility. And so what I decided was, hey, I'm just going to wake up earlier. I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and knock out my mobility. I'm going to train earlier, and I'm going to have the day to be able to continue doing the routine that has been serving me for quite some time. And so now I wake up at 4 a.m. to do mobility. I'm in the gym training and creating content from 5 to 7. From 7 to 9 a.m., I'm doing a systems check and morning meetings. And a systems check means is just checking transactions that came through that morning, checking my KPIs, checking my ad spend, checking in with my team, etc. From 9 to 1, I'm building my business. So this could be, building out new systems, having really key meetings with the right people, making course videos, things like that. Sometimes I might even have time to take a nap there. It's not full every day, but like that time time is dedicated to being available for my business. From 1 to 5 p.m. consistently, I'm taking coaching calls. And then from 5 to 7, this is where kind of my downtime starts, but I try to be productive. So I'll do my second mobility routine, I'll get my steps in, and I'll listen to a podcast and read, and then I'm in bed by 8. This will probably be my routine for a long time. I really don't see any reason for me to have a different routine unless something were to drastically change, like if I had kids or if I moved to a different time zone or something. But for now, I think that this routine will honestly serve me until we're doing millions and millions of dollars a month. But I want you to see, I don't have time for video games. I don't have time for coffee meetup. I don't even have time to go get a gym session with someone new. For me, I'd rather just go in, get my content, get my training session, and go home. Everything else is a distraction. I only have 3 priorities right now. Number 1 is my mobility. That is a priority. So I'm making time for my mobility so I can move well into my 50s, 60s, and 70s. The second priority is obviously building my business. And then third priority is learning, right? That's all I have time for. So those are my 3 priorities. And I only make time for those 3 priorities. Now, these might change, later down the road. I might not have time to podcast and read. My time might be focused on my family when I have a family one day. And so my routine will change once those life changes comes. But like over the last 10 years, I've only had 4 different routines. And I've been very, very consistent and diligent with those routines. And so my message for you here is to figure out what your routine is, write down your non-negotiables, write down your priorities, work in your priorities around your non-negotiables, cut out your distractions, set time for quote unquote zombie mode, and stick to the plan. This is not a crazy routine. I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm just staying consistent with the basics, and I'm doing it for a long period of time. So if you guys appreciated this video, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.